This week's lecture is actually brought to you by Dean Karen Adsett, who used to be the director of the Walker Teaching Resource Center, but was recently promoted to Dean of Lifelong Learning. So she is responsible for all things instructional design, continuing education, and really has a broad array of responsibilities that help enhance the university. And she used to teach this course some years ago prior to me teaching it. And after reviewing some of the material that she used for this course, I thought this was a great lesson and I wanted to bring it to you, but present it in a different way by using Prezi for those of you who are thinking about maybe integrating Prezi into your instructional design material. So this is just one tool that you could use. You should not be able to read all of the slides as is. I'm going to scan in so we can go in there and hone in. And we're going to be talking about thoughtful selection and integration of technology, strategies, and tools. So let's go ahead and begin. The first one refers to the basic question. So we are remembering what we've learned about instructional design, what that process means, and actually where does technology selection fall, and does it fall underneath the goals and teaching strategies, and all of those things that need to be considered. Next, we look, how do we align and match the strategies and the goals and the tools and the evaluation? And I'm a firm believer, I love all things technology, but I don't believe technology should drive the goals and the strategies, but it should be something that should be aligned and should help enhance the teaching and learning practices that you are focusing on with respect to your goals and your strategies. Now, when we're talking about methods and taking in information and learning, think about the chart here. And how much do we have to include opportunities for students to do? So keep this in mind when we're talking about information and learning. And what's the difference? We have our strategies and we have our tools. So one item to note is please don't confuse teaching strategies with teaching tools. PowerPoint, Prezi, Keynote, those are all tools. One that can be used with lecture, discussion, simulation, etc. In any medium, technology can be used with any teaching strategy. Now we're talking about strategy and media selection. One of the models that I like to use when I'm talking about integrating technology into the classroom effectively is the Ashore Model. And it's ASSURE, and it's an acronym. And I believe I'll post some material more about the Ashore Model, if not this week or next week. I can't remember where I put that passage for you to kind of read, especially for those of you who are really interested in learning more about effective ways of doing this. But when we have an instructional design project, ideally we would love for our clients to come in and say and state clearly what their problem was, and that it's and in fact it's a problem that can be solved with instruction, or it's an instructional problem in nature. They know what that problem is, and they can articulate that. In reality, we don't get that. We have clients who come in and say, I want to make a web page that includes X, Y, and Z. So really with this process, we're helping them and us determine what the true needs are and how to create the strategy and what media will help with this instructional problem. Now the learning task. As you consider your learning outcome or goal, consider what type of task you are trying to teach. This step could be critical to determine the types of strategies and tools appropriate for the content to be learned. And what is this learning task? Think carefully about what it is that you need to show students, what you hope to evoke in the students, and what strategies you plan to help them move closer to the final skill or knowledge. but still challenge them and give them opportunities for practice and failure, especially in today's society. Um, Sometimes we need to allow our students and our participants come to the reality that they're not going to be perfect all the time, and they may not um, come up to a workable solution, and then how to work through that process. That's a task in and of itself. And what are the instructional conditions that will facilitate learning? What kind of conditions need to be present with the teaching strategies and the teaching tools? Here we're trying to see who are your learners and what do they know and what are their technology capabilities. What do you have to happen in the classroom? That's what we're trying to get here is what needs to happen in this particular classroom training room um, for this learning context. How do you like to have your classroom set up for optimal learning? Do you like your seating, all those types of things? How do you like your chairs configured? Do you want students in a circle? Do you want them all facing you? All of that. Where does the podium need to be? Do you even need a podium? How much time and money can you devote to the production of needed content and teaching materials? Will the media technology get in the way or help students learn the materials? I'm a big fan of technology and different types of mediums to uh, share information with students and participants, but um, it should not distract from learning. It actually should enhance learning. So hopefully me using Prezi is not too big of a distraction for most of you or for all of you. And here we have the push-pull. Will your students seek out the information? Will you need to send in direct information for activities? It shouldn't be just a one-way street where you're just pushing the whole time, but it should be a nice give and take when you have people who are both interested in the true learning process and the community of what that means, and each person understands their role in the push-pull. Now there's with each type of medium there's advantages and disadvantages of using it. So for print, these are the advantages and disadvantages, and you could, as you're reading this in your mind, you can think of what may be missing and how this could be revised. And here are the advantages and disadvantages of using computers as a teaching tool. Video is one, and we could probably add on to this the different ways that they could be saved and shared. That could be an advantage or disadvantage. Some of you express difficulty with access. Interactive media. And this term is kind of outdated, slides and film strips, but that's basically what PowerPoint, Prezi, they're just a cooler slide film strip type of technology. There's advantages and disadvantages to um, teaching online as well as doing face-to-face types of interactions. And here we're going to ask, there might seem as the web may seem as a special case, as it is inherently offers a multitude of options, both synchronous and asynchronous, hybrid, all those different types of things. But it's static. It's still images and videos, print handouts, and interactive websites. So it may or may not be a good fit for your instructional design purposes. Also, you consider your learning goals. Also consider how your students should be grouped to learn the best, or should they even be grouped. We also need to look at the different types of interactions. Consider how the learners will interact with the content, the instructor, and with the other students. And then once we understand the type of interaction, we need to look at the level of interaction. Consider how interacting the learning needs should be, and how can students be passive consumers of the information? How should they engage with the content? And here's a great model to consider when you're talking about the variation of instructional design. And when we're talking about tasks, here are some other things that you should consider. Now also consider what impact the media will have on the final learning outcome. And in this slide here, it really summarizes everything that we've discussed in this brief lecture with the attributes, the grouping, the management, and then we have our tasks, learners, content, and organization. So when you're thinking for this week, maybe this image will help you kind of capture everything in one snapshot. So when you're designing instruction and you're thinking about which media or technology to integrate into your instructional design plan, consider the qualities of each type to fit your content, your audience, the classroom, the teaching environment. Is it going to be online, face-to-face, hybrid, and all the different types of technologies that you have available, and also the proficiency of your target audience, their technology proficiency, and also their access to technology as well. And are you going to do all of your users have access to technology? How is their connection speed? All of those different types of things need to be taken into consideration when you're integrating media.